victory.
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly on WCTV, the last episode of the semester, so we'll try to make it as good as possible for you today. I'm Caleb Yager alongside Riley Holsinger. We have men's basketball, women's basketball, and wrestling to discuss today for Waynesburg University Athletics. And we'll first start with the loss last week against Otterbein for both of these teams. We'll start with the men's basketball team. It was 78-57, but they quickly turned things around in this past Saturday to open up conference play. A huge win at St. Vincent College, 74-48, and history was made for Waynesburg University Athletics.
Yeah, just a really dominating win for Waynesburg in that St. Vincent victory. All cylinders were clicking for this men's basketball team. And as you mentioned it, Caleb, history was made. Matt Popeck became the 35th Waynesburg men's basketball player to join the 1,000-point club. And he had an incredible performance against the Bearcats on Saturday. 36 points for Matt Popeck. He's been stellar all season for this men's basketball team and had a really great performance against St. Vincent on Saturday. They couldn't find an answer for him, Caleb.
St. Vincent really couldn't find an answer. In fact, none of the St. Vincent players got to double digits in terms of points. The highest scorer was Ossian Jones with 9 points. And let's not forget some of the other players that contributed off the bench for the Waynesburg University Yellow Jackets. How about Anton Baker? 16 rebounds. Let me say that again. 16 rebounds. That was a game high with 7 points to go along with that. Like you said, Matt Popeck, 36 points. He also went 14-24, 5-10 from three-point range. Just a great day overall and way to open up conference play as they take on Grove City next. And that's a great way to get things started for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, great way to start off the conference slate with a win right there. And you mentioned Anton Baker right there, 16 rebounds. He didn't even really play much of the first half, so most of those rebounds came into the second half for them. And then to kind of cap off that St. Vincent victory for the men's basketball team, they shot over 40% from three-point land. Just a really impressive performance from this men's basketball team. Mentioned it, they'll have Grove City this Wednesday, and then they'll have Franciscan at home on Saturday at 3 p.m. in the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. But we'll jump over to the women's basketball team, who haven't fared as well as the men's basketball team. They went 0-2 this past week. They're 0-6 on the season, but there were some signs of life for them, Caleb, on Saturday against the reigning PAC champs, the St. Vincent College Bearcats.
And one thing to point out, Riley, is that Brooke Fuller, the leading scorer for this Yellow Jacket team, she had 20 points and 12 rebounds, a double-double against the Otterbein Cardinals, but she really struggled on Saturday. And looking at the statistics, she only had 8 points and 9 rebounds. She really struggled from the field on Saturday, and she just tried to put a lot of things up, and a lot of things weren't going. And Ella Marconi really won that matchup down below.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of key contributors in that game, Casey Castro for the Yellow Jackets, 22 points in the 5-point loss for the Yellow Jackets there. Went 7 for 10. Field goal-wise, just a really impressive performance by Casey Castro and a really impressive performance from this women's basketball team that didn't show quit against the St. Vincent team that's very impressive, won the PAC title last season. But we're going to be moving over from the hardwood to the wrestling mat here. The Waynesburg wrestling team did not compete this past week. They will compete this upcoming weekend in the Messiah Invitational. Couple key guys are going to be out for them this weekend, but one of those guys that is still expected to wrestle out there is going to be Rocky McGeary.
And Rocky McGeary, like we've mentioned, ranked in Division III as the number 2 wrestler in all of Division III. The last wrestling matchup that Waynesburg had against Messiah was here at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. They lost 30-16 at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse back in 2019, and they haven't won against Messiah in a dual match since November 22nd, 2008. So it's going to be a challenge for the Yellow Jackets coming up on Saturday, but hopefully that extra week of rest will help them in the long run.
Yeah, and the Messiah Invitational, coming from my personal experience wrestling in that tournament, it is a very tough tournament there. A lot of tough teams in attendance there, so it will be a test for the Yellow Jackets here, as they're going to have a little bit of a test heading into winter break here. They'll have a couple more meets before winter break. Our wrestling analyst Brock Owens will come onto the scene to break down the Wrestling Invitational and the other meets heading into winter break here. But when we come back on Jacket Sports Weekly, we'll be discussing the men's basketball team with Tyler Zeman.
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly on WCTV. Now it's time to talk about the men's basketball team. And here to break it all down is our men's basketball analyst, Tyler Zeman. Tyler, the show is named the Jacket Sports Weekly, but maybe we should rename it the Matt Popeck Show since we got a new 1,000-point score.
Yeah, well, after Saturday, Matt Popeck, he really showed Matt Popeck of old. Not only did he hit or eclipse 1,000 points, and he's the 35th Waynesburg player to join the 1,000-point club, but he had 36 total points. He shot 14 from 24 from the field, 5 for 10 from three-point, which is not bad. Had a total of 9 rebounds, and he also had 3 assists. He got 1 steal as well. He really showed why he is the leader on this Waynesburg basketball team this season.
Now, Tyler, Popeck's playing very well right now, but so is the entire men's basketball team right now. Only really 3 additions into the rotation from last season to this season. How big do you think chemistry is playing a factor into the success for this men's basketball team?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that we talked about at the beginning of the season is how's everybody going to kind of file in, and is everyone going to really buy into this system, and are they going to play as a team? And I think as the season has gotten underway, they've gotten a few non-conference games under their belt, now 1 PAC game under their belt. They're really showing that they have really come together and have really found a good rhythm, especially Najon Kirkman, who had a fantastic game against Otterbein, and he's really been a great role player for this Waynesburg basketball team, just not scoring a bunch of points, but doing the little things that really help project and put this team forward and in the driver's seat like we saw on Saturday.
And how about some of these younger guys that have been contributing to the Yellow Jacket basketball team, like John Tassinger or Anton Baker, who had 16 rebounds against the Bearcats? Yeah,
well, they've really come up big. At the beginning of the season, Coach Fusina didn't really rotate a lot of guys. It was a lot of the starters getting the majority of the minutes. But as we've seen in the past couple of games, he's really started to bring a lot more players off the bench. Obviously, John Tassinger, who's a freshman, and Anton Baker, and they have really taken the opportunity that's been given to them. 16 total rebounds by Baker. That's just impressive. He's really stepped up. That was one of the biggest things is the second chances on offense and getting the ball back on defense to lead into offense, rebounding in particular. It was one of the big questions because they don't have too much height on this Waynesburg basketball team, but Baker has really stepped up and has been a big presence on defense, which has really been the cornerstone of this team so far.
Who, in your opinion, is going to need to step up for this men's basketball team moving forward as we get into the home stretch of the basketball season?
Well, I think it's really come as a surprise. It doesn't really come as a surprise. Jansen Knotts, he has been playing well the last couple of games. I thought he was going to be one of the bigger players on this basketball team, one of the key guys coming into the season. Last year, or in the spring season that they had, he was really impressive. He started out strong this season, but has kind of fallen off. But this basketball team, we talked about it, they're deeper than they were in the spring, and even though they don't rotate a lot of players, they still have a bunch of guys that have been stepping up and really filling in for what Jansen Knotts has really lacked production-wise so far.
And real quick, Tyler, what are some of the keys to the Grove City game coming up, a team that beat them twice 2 years ago and beat them once last year?
Yeah, well, they're 16-9 versus Grove City overall. Like I said, they're just going to have to, stay solid defensively. It's really been the cornerstone. They've really had to grind it out. And on Saturday, we saw what happens when they get the offense rolling, and Matt Popeck can really put up the numbers that we expect him to. This team looks right now unstoppable, and they just got to carry that momentum into the Grove City game.
Thank you very much, Tyler Zeman, for your analysis. And you just mentioned Matt Popeck. That's who we'll be sitting down with next to talk about his 1,000-point club achievement right here on Jacket Sports Weekly. Well, the proper thing to do when history is made, you got to celebrate it and talk about it. And here to talk about the latest Waynesburg 1,000-point score is none other than Matt Popeck. Matt, thanks for joining us today in studio.
Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first question is, when you scored that 1,000th point, it was a three-pointer. Can you kind of take us through that shot at St. Vincent?
Yeah, I kind of just got myself open and made a quick move and then pulled the shot, and it went in, and it felt good to reach that milestone.
And you scored 36 points in that game. What was really working for you there?
Just playing in the rhythm of the game, was able to score most of my points in the second half, and I just kind of got in my zone, and my teammates were putting me in position, getting me the ball, screening for me and getting me open, so that was able to really help me get going in the second half.
And through all the things that you've been through, from injuries to, playing throughout the years, and it took a lot of time to get to that milestone, what did it really mean to you to reach 1,000 points?
Yeah, I mean, I think considering what I had to overcome and how hard I worked to get here, I think that made that moment a little more special for me. And yeah, it's just an honor for real, because I know some people were counting me out. So just to be able to come back and be able to play at a high level again is great. So.
Now take us back in 2019, I think it was, when you got your injury. Was it at Allegheny College?
Yeah.
What happened during that injury?
A knee injury like that can just happen so fast,
So going throughout the different years that you've played with different guys, like back in your freshman year with John Knabb, Nate Gearhart, to Brennan Smith, Frank Bozovic, and to your current roster, and you've gone through two different coaches as well. What's it been like playing with those different guys throughout the years?
I mean, it's great to just be able to play with different players. Obviously, being able to make new friends as well in the team, and being able to be a part of the family. And just learning and growing as a player, being able to learn from different coaches, all that, it's helped me evolve as a player.
What's one of the biggest things you've learned over the years?
Just growing into a leader, I think, mainly is the big thing. Because I feel like now I have a larger leadership role, and I can lead by example, as well as use my voice when I need to. And I think that's an area I've really grown in.
Okay. And who's one of the most talented players you've ever played with here at Waynesburg?
There's been a lot for real. John Knabb, Brennan Smith, Frank Bozovic, Ryan Feldberg. I don't know, the list goes on. A lot of great players have been through here, in my opinion.
And now focusing on this current season, you guys are 3-2, 1-0 in the conference. What are some of your guys' expectations? What's your mindset going into the rest of the season?
Just keep getting better. Keep working hard in practice every day. And keep getting better. Working on ourselves, working together as a team, and just continue to win games.
And a kind of a fun question: who's your favorite basketball player of all time?
Kobe.
Kobe.
Yeah.
Why Kobe?
Mamba mentality, probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's I admire that, and I really feel like once he passed, his impact that he had on me just grew even more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like that for a lot of people, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your favorite part about Kobe's game that was the strongest point?
I don't know. He was just an assassin.
Mm-hmm.
He could get in the zone and just light you up for however many points he wanted, and also he was a winner too. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember one particular shot or favorite play of yours that was of Kobe? Or maybe there was just so many that.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'd say the play when he threw the oop to Shaq whenever he was young Kobe.
Oh yeah.
In the championship, and then that kind of led to the Kobe legacy starting, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, young Kobe. I'd say I like young Kobe better, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there any part of his game that you've tried to mimic in your game at all?
Yeah, Kobe was great at finding spots and getting to them and pulling up. So that's something that I have worked on over the years, trying to find spots on the floor I can get to and pull up and get a bucket whenever. So that's something Kobe mastered.
Okay. What's your favorite shot? What's your favorite spot on the floor to take the shot?
I like threes from the wings. Like,
Is there a left
catch
side
and
or right
shoot.
side that works better for you, especially with your left-handed shooter?
No, neither side really works better. I'm just comfortable taking those shots. I don't know why. I feel like I can just catch and shoot from those spots, and or even off the dribble, just get there and pull up from there. And I feel like I'm confident I can make that shot. So that or right around the free throw line.
Right around the free throw line.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like that? You like those step backs too.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite? What's your favorite dribble move that you would say to try to create some space?
I don't know. I use a lot of jab steps, I feel like. But maybe like a jab step, crossover, and some kind of step back. I don't know. I don't really think about my moves when I'm making them. They kind of just come. So.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much, Matt, for joining us today. Really appreciate it. New 1,000-point score at Waynesburg University. And when we come back, we're going to break down women's basketball with Joe Venzel right here on Jacket Sports Weekly.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
The women's basketball team went 0-2 this past week, and on the season hasn't been pretty for the Lady Jays. 0-6 on the season. Now bringing in our women's basketball analyst right here on Jacket Sports Weekly, Joe Venzel. And despite that 0-6 record right now, Joe, they had a pretty promising game against St. Vincent, which they only lost by 5 points, and they were really impressive from three-point range, converting on 56% of their three-pointers.
Oh no, a lot of those three-pointers, especially 4 of them coming from the highest scorer on the team, Casey Castro, and her 22 points, not hitting a single three-pointer in the games prior to St. Vincent, but coming out and hitting 4. And like I said on this show before, threes are better than twos, and then that dynamic comes into the factor of your inside heavy offense of the center, Brooke Fuller. If you can't force those shots when she was going up a really tough opponent in Ella Marconi for St. Vincent, those outside shots get wide open. When your shooters hit, it's puts out very effective numbers for them, especially being that close to the defending PAC champs.
Now, the perimeter game was working well for the Lady Jays, but the inside game really wasn't working well. Brooke Fuller only having 8 points, and it was really a battle of the bigs between Brooke Fuller and Ella Marconi. Can you just talk to us about how that matchup played out?
Yeah, no, Ella Marconi tallying, 5 blocks in this contest, and really deafening blocks at that, turning into defensive breakdowns for Waynesburg when she was blocking shots there. Emily Cavassini for St. Vincent getting wide open on the offensive side. And when Brooke Fuller's not scoring the 20 points that she had in the Otterbein game, only being held to 8, by that tough matchup, it's really tough, especially Ella Marconi, 6'2". And that height difference is really a game changer in that aspect because, you're blocking shots, you're getting defensive stops, stopping this Waynesburg offense from doing what they do best is score on the inside, but opening the perimeter for them was definitely the contrasting factor of that. But other than that, she was shut down by Ella Marconi.
How beneficial and how motivating do you think it is for this Lady Jays team that only lost by 5 points to the reigning PAC champs?
No, absolutely. And they're tough out-of-conference opponents that they had to travel for, New York and Ohio and Otterbein. Coming into PAC play, going up against the defending PAC champs in St. Vincent, setting a tone really for the rest of the PAC play this season. They're going to play some more tough opponents later on, and you have that sense of statement putting out the first game of PAC play. It's really a really benefiting factor for them.
St. Vincent kind of graduated some seniors like Jenna Lafko, the point guard, that was really, really good for the Bearcats last season. And now going into the Grove City game, the Wolverines have graduated some players as well. What do you see in that matchup coming up on Wednesday?
Well, like I said before, the perimeter is definitely going to be a big factor on that. They can definitely hit their shots from the outside, really produce the points that they need to. It's going to be a really deciding factor for this Wolverine team, especially how young they are. St. Vincent, the same way, how they have a young core, the only senior being Taylor Gear, really, I think, played a factor in that with the experience, especially we have Casey Castro and Brooke Fuller, 2 veteran seniors. I feel like it should be a great matchup for that.
It's been a big issue for the Lady Jackets this season in turnovers. 37 turnovers this past week right here. How important is it going to be for Waynesburg to clean up its game moving forward here?
Definitely the big factor on that. And if you can limit the turnovers, obviously you get better scoring chances on the offensive side of things, and especially the turnovers in crucial moments at the end of the game by Anika Dansby really hurt the Waynesburg University Yellow Jackets in that aspect. But if they can limit that, they'll have a better game for sure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Venzel, right here on Jacket Sports Weekly. And when we come back on Jacket Sports Weekly, Brock Owens will join us at the desk to break down the wrestling team at the Messiah Invitational this upcoming week.
It's a Saturday night. You know what that means. Time to party. Sam is having a good time, watching sports, drinking beer, playing pong. Not a care in the world for Sam. Nobody at the party stopped Sam. They let him walk out the door with his keys, even though he was stumbling, having a hard time to stand up. What happened less than 10 minutes later would change Sam's life forever.
The last time we saw the Waynesburg wrestling team out on the mat was at the Waynesburg Doles the last Saturday, and they didn't have a great performance, only a 1-2 record walking away from the Waynesburg Doles right there. Walking up to the set right here to talk about the wrestling team is our wrestling analyst, Brock Owens. Brock, nice to see you up here for breaking down the wrestling team. Now, mentioned it right there, 1-2 performance, not what the wrestling team wanted. But how nice is it kind of a week off between that performance and then the Messiah Invitational this upcoming week?
It's great for a wrestling team, especially one that was kind of banged up. Now, I'm not 100% sure if they're fully healed. We're going to have to see how many people are going into the Messiah Invitational. I hear a few people might be out, one of which is Dylan Winters. I was talking to him earlier today, and over Thanksgiving break, he felt a little something in his bicep. He went to the doctor, got it looked at, and earlier today he had a follow-up appointment with them, and he might be having surgery later, so that's something to keep an eye on. Winters was very good so far this season. He's at a 6-2 record right now. Who knows what's going to happen with that? But as far as having some off time, it's very good because wrestling can get you in a very drowsy and can get you very sore. So for some guys to heal up, it's about 2 weeks, just 1 day short of 2 weeks from when the last time they wrestled to the Messiah Invitational. So it's going to be very good for the guys that are competing in this to get some rest.
The last time that the wrestling team went head-to-head against Messiah, they lost 30-16 here in 2019 at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. And this Messiah Invitational is known to be a very competitive competition in the region. So what are some of the things, what are some of the keys that are going to have to be helpful for the Waynesburg Yellow Jackets this upcoming Saturday?
Yeah, it's a very tough tournament, Messiah being one of the very tough teams. Mountain Union's going to be there as well. Another team that's going to be there is Alvernia, who Waynesburg lost to 51-0 during the Waynesburg Doles. So if that doesn't tell you the type of competition they're going to be facing during this, then I don't know what will. It's a lot of tough competition, but that's what you want. You don't want to just be facing nobody good. You want to be facing the best wrestlers you can, so that when it comes down to crunch time at the end of the year for the PAC championships and for the regionals, you have faced some of the guys that are quality enough to be at that stage, so you can, push the match and you can stay into it. So facing that type of competition is going to be very good for them, but also very tough for them.
And it's no secret that this Waynesburg wrestling team isn't as deep as it used to be a couple years ago right now. Do you think this could be more of a team that would be better suited for invitationals like this in tournament style, or do you think they're more of a dual team?
Well, it depends if they have their full lineup. When they have their full lineup, Riley, I really think they can be a very good dual team, because when they have all their starters, every weight class seems to have a pretty good wrestler in it. And also, of course, that does translate to a tournament style. When they don't have all the wrestlers and they just have some of their best ones, then they're definitely more of a wrestling style or a tournament style, because when you have Rocky McGeary, Harley Constable, guys like that, and I assume they're going to be wrestling. They wrestled 2 matches, each of them did, at the Waynesburg Doles. So it's they should be wrestling at this Messiah Invitational, and hopefully they can do pretty well in it.
Now, they have 3 more competitions until 2022 hits here, which is crazy to say right now. They'll be off from December 18th to January 8th, and one of those guys that really needs to get his conditioning up, and he said it to you, is Rocky McGeary. So how important will that time period be for him to kind of get back into shape?
Yeah, he's definitely going to need to get back into shape. That's one of the main things he needs to do to go back to being Rocky McGeary, the guy who was 38-3 as a freshman and was, the PAC champ, the regional champ, and seeded at the national tournament before it was canceled. So if he gets that conditioning back up and just gets back into a mental state that he was in before as well, then he's going to be the Rocky McGeary of old. I'm pretty confident in that.
Well, thank you, Brock Owens, and that'll do it for us right here on Jacket Sports Weekly. We hope you have a happy holiday season right here from Jacket Sports Weekly.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.